People think loneliness looks like being alone. They're wrong. Loneliness looks like sitting across from someone who's smiling, laughing, nodding at all the right moments, while quietly believing that if they truly saw you, they'd leave. That was Maya. And I didn't know it yet when she said, "No one wants to date me." Maya was the kind of woman people described as fun. She worked in marketing at the same mid-sized tech company I did in Seattle. Same floor. Different teams. Shared break room. She always had a joke ready. Always teased herself before anyone else could. Always dressed confidently, bright colors, bold earrings, messy confidence. The kind that looked unbreakable. The first time I heard her say it, we were alone in the break room late one evening. She was stirring sugar into her coffee like it had personally offended her. "No one wants to date me," she said casually, like she was talking about the weather. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. She didn't. I looked up. Her smile hadn't reached her eyes. "Come on," I said. "You're smart, funny, gorgeous." "See," she cut in, raising a finger. "That's what everyone says. And then they leave." There was no anger in her voice. Just exhaustion. I didn't push. I didn't pretend to understand. I just said, "That sucks." She looked surprised. People usually rush to fix pain. Sometimes pain just wants to be seen. Over the next few weeks, we started talking more. Lunches turned into long walks. Quick chats became shared playlists. And I started noticing a pattern. Every time she mentioned a date, it ended the same way. He ghosted. He said he wasn't ready. He said I was great, but not what he was looking for. One night, over cheap takeout in her apartment, she laughed and said, "I think I'm just defective." I didn't laugh. It was raining, hard, relentless, Seattle doing what Seattle does best. We were sitting on her couch, a movie playing neither of us was watching. Maya was quiet. Too quiet. Then she said it again. "No one wants to date me." Her voice cracked this time. I turned toward her. "You don't actually believe that, do you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stood up. My stomach dropped, not from desire, but confusion. She faced me, hands shaking slightly. "There's something I don't tell people," she said. And then, slowly, deliberately, she lifted her shirt. "It wasn't what you're thinking." There was no seduction. No performance. Just skin marked by scars. Long ones. Uneven ones. Surgical scars. Her breathing was shallow, like she was bracing for impact. "This," she said quietly, "is usually when they change." I stood up without thinking. "Maya. I had cancer," she said. "Years ago. Remission now. But my body, it's not what people expect." Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "They say they're fine with it. Until they see it. Until they realize loving me might mean hospitals again. Or fear. Or scars." She finally looked at me. "And then they leave." I didn't rush her. I didn't touch her right away. I just said the truth. "I'm not going anywhere." She laughed, a broken sound. "They all say something like that." I stepped closer. Carefully. "I'm not them." Her shoulders shook. "For once," I continued, voice steady, "someone showed me the part of themselves they're most afraid of, and I feel honored. Not scared." Silence filled the room. Then she started crying. The quiet, shaking kind. I wrapped my arms around her, not to claim, not to fix, just to stay. After that night, everything slowed down. No grand declarations. No rushing. Just honesty. She told me about chemo. About losing her hair. About friends who faded away when things got hard. I told her about my fear of being needed too much, and my fear of not being needed at all. We learned each other carefully. Like glass. Weeks later, we were lying side by side, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. She whispered, "Why are you still here?" I turned toward her. "Because you're not something to run from," I said. "You're someone to choose." She didn't respond. But she reached for my hand. And this time, she didn't pull away. Loving Maya wasn't dramatic. It was small things. Sitting in waiting rooms without being asked. Memorizing her medication schedule. Reminding her that scars are proof of survival, not damage. And one night, months later, she said something I'll never forget. "I don't feel like I have to hide anymore." That's when I knew. This wasn't about dating. Or attraction. It was about staying. 1 year later, we were at the same break room where it all started. She leaned against the counter, smiling. "You know," she said, "I used to think no one wanted to date me." I smiled back. "And now?" She looked at me, really looked at me. "Now I know the right person doesn't date you despite your scars." She squeezed my hand. "They choose you because you're real." Sometimes, when someone says, "No one wants me," what they're really asking is, "If you see all of me, will you still stay?" And sometimes, love is simply answering, "I'm not going anywhere." Love is easy when things are quiet. It's harder when the phone rings at 2:17 a.m. Maya's phone buzzed on the nightstand, lighting up the dark room. I watched her reach for it, still half asleep. Then I saw her face change. Not fear. Something worse. Recognition. "I have to take this," she whispered. I sat up as she answered, turning away, her free hand gripping the edge of the bed. "Yes. I understand." "Okay." She hung up slowly. The room felt heavier. I didn't ask right away. She sat there for a long moment, shoulders tight, eyes fixed on nothing. Then she said, quietly, "They want me to come in tomorrow. For more tests." I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away, but she didn't squeeze back either. "It doesn't mean anything yet," I said carefully. She nodded. "I know." But her voice didn't believe it. Later that night, when she thought I was asleep, I felt her turn away from me. I heard the smallest sound, like someone trying not to cry. I wrapped my arm around her. She froze. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I don't want to be the reason you get hurt." That sentence broke something open in me. "You don't get to decide that for me," I said gently. "I stay because I choose to. Not because I'm obligated." She finally turned toward me. Her eyes were full of fear. "And if it comes back?" she asked. I didn't hesitate. "Then I stay anyway." Hospitals don't care who you are. They strip everyone down to the same nervous silence. Maya sat beside me in the waiting room, arms crossed, leg bouncing. She was trying to look calm. She failed. I noticed the way she avoided eye contact with couples holding hands, families whispering together. She leaned closer to me. "Last time," she said softly, "I did this alone." I squeezed her hand. "You're not alone now." She looked at our hands like she was memorizing the feeling. The tests took hours. Blood work. Scans. Waiting. I went to the vending machine 3 times just to give her something to do besides think. When the doctor finally called her name, she looked back at me like a child afraid to let go. "I'll be right here," I said. And I meant it. That night, back at her apartment, Maya was quiet. Too controlled. She cleaned dishes that were already clean. Organized books that didn't need organizing. Finally, she said, "You don't have to do this." I knew what she meant. "You didn't sign up for medical scares," she continued. "You could walk away now. No one would blame you." I stepped closer. "Are you trying to push me away," I asked, "or are you asking me to promise again?" She swallowed. "Both." I cupped her face gently. "I already promised," I said. "And I don't break promises when things get uncomfortable." Her eyes filled. The doctor called 2 days later. Maya put the call on speaker. Her hands were shaking so badly I held the phone steady for her. "Everything looks stable," the doctor said. "No signs of recurrence." Maya collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. Not relief. Release. I held her while she cried like she'd been holding her breath for years. "I really thought this would be the moment," she whispered. "The moment you realize it's too much." I kissed her forehead. "This was the moment I realized I love you." She pulled back. "You shouldn't say that unless you mean it," she said. "I mean it." She searched my face, like she was looking for the exit sign. "What if I get sick again?" she asked. "What if I can't have kids? What if I'm never easy to love?" I answered every question with the same truth. "Then we figure it out together." She stared at me, stunned. "No one's ever said together before," she whispered. I learned more about her history. The boyfriend who left during chemo. The friends who slowly stopped calling. The dates who smiled until things got real. Every scar had a story. And none of them made me love her less. If anything, they made me understand how strong she was, and how tired. One evening, months later, we lay on the floor of her living room, surrounded by takeout containers. She said, casually, "What do you think about houses with porches?" I smiled. "Thinking long-term?" She hesitated. "I never let myself before," she admitted. It felt irresponsible. Like tempting fate. I rolled onto my side to face her. "You're allowed to imagine a future," I said. "Even if it scares you." She nodded. Then whispered, "I want one with you." People think staying means endurance. It doesn't. Staying means choosing someone every day, even when they're afraid they're too much. One night, as we got ready for bed, Maya caught her reflection in the mirror. Her scars visible. Her face uncertain. She looked at me. "You really don't see me as broken," she said. I shook my head. "I see someone who survived," I replied. "And survival is beautiful." She smiled. "A real one." She once said, "No one wants to date me." What she really meant was, no one has stayed when it got hard. And now, for the first time, someone had. After the test results came back clear, life didn't suddenly become perfect. It became quiet. Not the empty kind. The careful kind. Maya started leaving her shoes by my door. I started keeping an extra toothbrush at her place. We didn't announce anything. We just slowly merged. One night she said, "I don't know how to live without waiting for bad news." I understood that kind of fear. So I said, "Then let's learn together." Months passed. Spring came softly, rain turning lighter, days stretching longer. We were walking by the water, the city glowing behind us, when she stopped suddenly. "Do you ever think about, later?" she asked. I knew what she meant. "Yeah," I said. She swallowed. "Do you think someone like me should plan that far ahead?" I turned to her fully. "Someone like you," I said slowly, "is exactly who deserves to." Her eyes shone. Not every day was easy. There were mornings she woke up exhausted for no reason. Days when a headache sent her spiraling into fear. Moments when she'd pull away, just a little, testing whether I'd chase. I always did. One evening she snapped at me for no reason, then immediately apologized. "I'm scared you'll get tired," she said. I took her hands. "I don't love you because you're easy," I said. "I love you because you're honest." I didn't plan the proposal like a movie scene. No crowd. No flash. Just us. We were cooking dinner, music playing softly, when I turned off the stove and said, "Maya." She looked up. "I don't know what the future holds," I said. "But I know who I want standing next to me no matter what." She froze. I pulled the ring from my pocket. Her hands flew to her mouth. "Are you serious?" she whispered. I've never been more sure of anything. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, I'll stay." Later that night, after the excitement faded, she grew quiet. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Marriage makes everything feel permanent." I smiled softly. "That's the point," I said. "Not perfect. Permanent." She rested her head against my chest. "Promise me something," she said. "What?" "If things get bad again, don't disappear." I kissed her hair. "I already proved that," I said. "But I promise anyway." We didn't do anything extravagant. Just close friends. Family. A backyard filled with lights and laughter. When Maya walked toward me, I saw every version of her at once, the scared girl, the survivor, the woman who almost didn't believe she deserved this. Her vows were simple. "I spent years thinking I was too much," she said. "And then you stayed. So I promised to stay too." There wasn't a dry eye there. Marriage didn't erase fear. It made it shared. We learned routines. Doctor appointments went on a calendar instead of being whispered worries. Some nights she'd press her face into my shoulder and say, "Thank you for not leaving." Every time, I answered the same way. "I'm right here." One evening, long after the wedding, she said quietly, "There's something we need to talk about." I already knew. "I might not be able to have kids," she said. "And I need to know that you won't resent me." I took her hands. "There are 100 ways to be a family," I said. "And I want every version, with you." She cried. But this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from relief. Years later, we stood in front of the mirror together. Maya traced the scar that once made her hide. "I used to think this was why people left," she said. I kissed it gently. "This is why I stayed," I replied. "Because it tells me who you are." She smiled. A peaceful one. She once said, "No one wants to date me." What she didn't know was, someone was waiting. Not to fix her. Not to save her. But to stay. And sometimes, love isn't about being chosen once. It's about being chosen. Every single day.